Okay, here we have a piece of soapstone. Okay, and I told you guys I was going to go over more containers and containers on stones. And many cultures around the world would use soapstone to make vessels to boil water in, to cook with, plates and sculptures and various things, pipes, oil lamps, which I showed you how to make one of those, and just multiple cultures around the world would use this stone because it's unique. Okay, it's like 10 times softer than a diamond, and it also does it resists heat in a way. Okay, it doesn't. You can set it on a fire and it's not going to break apart and break down, and it doesn't absorb water. Okay, it's not a porous rock, which is crazy because of its softness. It's soft and workable, yet it doesn't let water get through it. So this makes an excellent container. Okay, now it's not something that you're just going to stumble across in any survival situation you're ever in, but it's a good thing to go over, because if you do find it or you're planning on long term, this is a great thing to know and a great thing to have. So I'm going to make one out of this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go in the field and find stones out in the field that can be turned into containers as well. So let's go over this one first, and I'm just going to show you how I'm going to carve this. Now, I can show you here, if you can see right there where I started to scratch out where I'm going to make this bowl. Okay, and this is just a little knife that I made out of a piece of slate. Okay, you can see where I just napped that one end there like that, and it made this perfect blade. Okay, it's a great little knife. This is my primitive knife, and you can see just by scraping the top of this how easily I can get pieces to come off. Okay, you just look at that right there. That doesn't take no time at all. So what I want to do is I want to just get my outline started with this here. You can scratch this stuff with your fingernail. Okay, you can see I just did that with my fingernail right there. Super soft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through with this tool, and I am just going to slowly scrape away all this. Okay, it's going to take me a little bit of time to make this. It's not going to be that easy, and I'm going to try to use just primitive tools. And I'm not going to show you guys the whole thing. I just want to shoot a quick video just to give you an idea of what it's like to carve one of these. Okay, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to scrape this until I get a nice deep vessel inside here. So then we're going to take it out in the field and we're going to boil water with it. We'll cook some food with it. And I have it sitting on this deer hide because I want to catch all this powder that falls off of it, because we can use that to help us polish it when we're done. Okay, and that's how they used to do it. They would use some type of wax. We're going to use beeswax and this to polish it out when we're finished. Okay, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to carve this thing out with a couple of my tools, and it's just going to be a task that I'm going to enjoy and do. And I'll see you guys in the field to test this out and go over what stones we can find in this area to do the same thing with. Not as good as this, but it can be done. Alright guys, I mentioned I was going to talk to you about some stone containers, and that's exactly what I'm going to do today. One thing I want to show you out in the field here, I'll show you the clip here in a minute, is some stone that you'll find around here that's pretty abundant. It's either a type of sandstone or mudstone. It just depends on what you grab. Pretty sure what I have here is mudstone. They're almost pretty similar. Mudstone's a little bit softer though, and easy to work with. So watch this real quick. I'll show you where to find that and how to get it, and we'll come back. When you get these root systems, they uproot and tear up the dirt, bring up some earth. Well, they always bring up rocks with them. But you can tell just by dragging my finger across it that it's the consistency like a soft stone, like a soapstone or a sandstone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a container out of this right here. Now that you guys saw that, I want to talk about something that many cultures have used. And here is soapstone. Okay? Soapstone is just a wonderful thing to work with because, it connects you with the past. Cultures all over the world use soapstone to make sculptures, art, pottery, Pots and pans to cook in. This is how they cook a lot of their foods, because it's really awesome the fact that it doesn't have pores. Okay, it's not porous like other stones. Even granite will absorb water. This stuff here doesn't. Okay, and it's heat resistant. Okay, it resists heat, so you can actually boil water with this. Now I showed you what this looked like from the beginning and showed you how I was going to carve it out, and I left it a little kind of primitive looking. It has these little sides in it here like that are pretty cool, and you can see there that I carved this huge bowl out here. It's pretty big enough to get me some water. So what I want to do is fill this up with water and get it hot and boil it on this fire right here. Okay, and what I'm going to do with this is, this is our mudstone that I showed you, and I carved this. It wasn't hard to carve this at all. Okay, you can use your knife if you have to. I mean, I don't recommend that, but if you got a whittling knife or something that you can just sharpen back up, just use that to carve one of these out. I mean, if you're in a survival situation, you got to do what you got to do. Okay, I did this one kind of cool though. I just left this little handle on it because, you know, this stone was only this big. So I left that little handle, made a little pour nozzle right here. You know, it's not as big as my soapstone, but it's enough to get me some water. Okay. And this was easy to carve, like I said. It was not hard at all. It's not going to be as efficient as our soapstone, but we're going to show you how to boil water with this, okay, if you had to. Making one of these, you know, making it pretty like this takes more time, but making one of these in the bush where you just dig it out, trust me when I tell you, it will not take you that long. And I will shoot a video and show you how soft these are. I just did this one on my own time, but I'll come back and show you carving one of these things out, okay? Okay, so we've got our soapstone there filled up to the brim. I'd say right now it's probably holding around 20 ounces of water, because I had my 32-ounce jug full. Didn't fill all of it, so I'm going to guess around 20 ounces, which is pretty good. So we have that filled up. We're going to let that go ahead and start cooking, and hopefully get ourselves a boil with our soapstone. If you look here, you can see that we got a boil. Okay, that's a piece of soapstone right there. See how well that works? You can just surround that thing by that fire and boil away. You don't have to worry about the risk of it exploding or anything, or cracking under the heat, because that's what soapstone does. It's a wonderful gift. Right now, I'd say she's ready to drink. So what we're going to do, you can see how I built that fire all the way around. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this sit for a minute, let that fire die down, and then we can pull it off and use it to drink and make tea or whatever. Okay, so I just kind of want to pull some of this fire away from it now. Like I said, this really kind of connects you with the past, you know, working with soapstone. It's such a cool stone to work with. You know, it's found all over the world. Different cultures would make trades if it wasn't in their area for this stuff, because it's just a wonderful stone for, you know, anything you can think of. Jewelry making, to sculptures, to countertops. They use it for countertops, to even make a container and boil some water in. Cook some food in even. You know, I could cook rice, whatever I want to cook in there, I could do it. This is an awesome vessel that's going to last me. So we just pull that fire away like this, let that cool down a little bit, and that'll give me the ability to either use some of my deer hide. I have gloves on me, which I'll use those, but whatever you got to use, a handful of this ground cedar here. This stuff would probably work. You just get a handful of that, grab the side of the cup. But we're just going to let her cool for a minute, and then we're going to go on to the next container, which is the one that you would probably more likely find out here. See, she's just cooling down now. Okay, so I got myself a good amount of water in there to drink. So I say soapstone containers are very effective. They're gonna work, and you can see it just blackened the outside is all it did, and that stuff comes right off. I can sand that off and clean it back up if I wanted to, but I'll leave it like this until I need to clean it. So we know we can cook with this, we know we can boil water with this. Soapstone's effective. If you can find it, great. It's not always there. You know, the Indians were an established ancient culture, and all the other cultures in the world that use this, so they knew to get it and knew where to get it. You know, in a survival situation, if that's what the case is, you're not going to find this. But my videos aren't always on just short-term survival. I like long-term survival. You know, how would you live in the wilderness? So I show methods like that, and I love the ancient cultures around the world. I think they're awesome. So now we're going to go to this. This is my other container that I made out of that rock you saw me pull out of that root system. Okay, so you can see that it's kind of like a sandstone. I think it's like a red mudstone is what it is. A little bit like sandstone. And what I want to do is put some water in this first, but not quite yet because this rock is porous. I don't want to boil it on the fire because I risk blowing this thing up and it's not as strong. So I could just crack it. So what I want to do is if this is in your area, then there's obviously little stones in your area or smaller pieces of this. We're going to stone boil with this thing, okay? Okay, so what I have going on here is I got my stone here that's going to boil our water, dump it out clean, and I'm just going to leave it here and let it heat up a little bit to aid us in this process. And I got all my stones buried under that rubble right there, and that's going to take off and flame in a minute here and burn down to ash, and then our stones are going to be good and hot. And then we're going to pour our water in here and put our stones in for boiling. Okay. And what I have is just this little sapling here. It was a Y branch, and I just took it down to bark. You can see that I tied that there. Probably should retie it. And then I just tied it again. I just tied a knot in it, and that created this little circle here for me. Okay, just cinch that down like that. Can leave this here like that, and then I just have another little stick here that I'll use to pull them on top of this here, and then I'll drop them in my water. So, and this is a small container as well. This is not big. This was just something I did for fun and made it all clean and cool. In a real situation, you would make a big one of these, okay, like that soapstone size. And there are plenty of them out there this big. I just didn't feel like carrying that out to my house. So what I did here is just made a small one just for demonstration, and we'll get this thing rolling here, and I'll show you how to boil water with a mudstone container. Okay, we can see that this is all burnt down now, which means these are probably good and hot. And we let this thing sit right there, so it's probably ready. Now we want to make sure it's good and level. You know, it's a little bit warmer than what it was. It's not cold. And now we want to put some water in here, so I'm going to fill this up with water. Now we're going to be spilling some of our water here. Like I said, this isn't exactly the largest container in the world, but you'll get the idea of it if I can pick one of these stones up. Okay, so now I want to just carefully and lightly drop that in there without spilling too much. Let that one sit, and we'll start grabbing our next one. Okay, and you're going to get dirt in there. It's just the way it's going to be. You can hear that sizzling real good now. Okay, so we're going to let that sit for just a minute, let all the heat get out of it. We only want to go one at a time here because of the fact that this is a small container. Okay, so we got all our stones right here ready. Now I'm ready to pull this one out, so I'm going to take my finger and real quickly pull this out because it is hot. Carefully put this one in. Look at that. We've already got a boil. It only took 2 rocks to do that. That water is now safe for me to drink. So I would go ahead, pull this rock out. I've got 4 rocks on the fire, so there's another cup, there's another cup. I can put these 2 back on and keep drinking cups until I get my fill everywhere I go. Okay, so now I can just real quick pull that out, and I've got this much water to drink here. Let's pull my metal container out to see exactly how much it is in this small container. Okay, so each round, even if you have a small container, each round you're going to get that much water, okay? And obviously I have a system going here that'll keep getting me water. 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, and I boil that water, and it's giving me, you know, this is let's see, 25 ounces, so right there we're looking at, you know, probably about 4 ounces each round here. So if we get 4 ounces, 4 ounces, 4 ounces, okay, then we're going to be up to 16 ounces of water. Pretty soon we'll be at 32 ounces of water, and we can get our fill everywhere we go. We carry these 6 stones with us, we carry this container with us, and we got water, okay? That's one way of boiling water in these mountains that I have done that is not that hard. And like I said, I'm going to carve one of these. I'm sorry I didn't do that on video, but I'll carve one of these out in the wild for you and show you how easy it can be carved, okay? Because it's really not that hard. So there you have it with those.